America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to the chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council. We serve voluntarily. It is this board's intention to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing an equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain codes within our city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts. First, the violation, and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chamber. Now, I ask all who plan to speak, please rise and be sworn in by our clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Throughout your entire testimony? Thank you. Thank you.
Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting. May I have a motion to
Chair,
approve the?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The minutes, I just realized as I got here today that I never sent them out for your review,
Oh,
so
okay.
I will put them on the next agenda. My
Okay,
apologies to
all right.
everybody.
Well, we will pick that up on our next agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak on items that are not on today's agenda? If so, please stand and step to the podium. No? All right, we'll get right to it, to our new business items. 4.1 on our agenda, case number 01-25, find respondents Ukobier Julius A., a revocable trust at 403 Princess Street in violation of code for exterior surfaces, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? Will you stand up, step forward, and you 3 are here to speak on that case? Okay. One second, Mr. Kaspin.
Yes, so exterior surfaces and roof maintenance for this. Thank you.
Can you state your name and address for our record, please, to our clerk?
My name is Dr. Julius Okuboye.
Addressing.
My address, 600 North Osceola Avenue, Clearwater, 33755.
Mr. Abukie,
Kubai.
do you deny or do you admit or deny the violation today, sir?
Pekini, me gbọ́.
Wọ́n ní ṣe ẹ fẹ́ admit violation tó fún yín ni àbẹ fẹ́ deny so ẹ deny ẹ sọ fún wọn
Pekini,
pé ẹ admit.
I don't admit, no.
He said he denies it.
Denies the violation? Okay, if you guys will have a seat right there, we'll hear from the city, and we'll call you back up.
Wọ́n ní ká lọ
Okay.
jókòó.
Hold on, Mr. Kaspin, we have.
Thank you so much.
Sir, if you want to, are you going to speak?
Yes, sir.
You come up
I'd
to,
like to speak after your people. Or would you like her to speak first?
oh, you can, I mean, either one. I was just going to admit, are you an owner also of the property?
Yes, not of his property, but I'm in the neighborhood.
Oh, okay, well, we'll have you speak after they give their presentation. Thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Inspector Kasman, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board. My name is Daniel Kasman. I'm a code enforcement inspector with the City of Clearwater. This is case number 1-25 for 403 Princess Street. There are 2 violations here for Code Section 3-1502B for exterior surfaces, and Code Section 3-1502D1, D3 for roof maintenance and clean roof. These are the dates notices of violation were sent out, along with the certified mail. I did meet with Mr. Klube prior to this meeting and explaining the violations in office. And from that point, nothing has been done to repair the property. But I'll show you the photographs. This was back in August of 2024. This came as a complaint from one of the neighbors. I believe it was to the west about the property. This is the front of the property. As I was there, one of the tenants allowed me to take a further look. You can see there's some issues with the exterior there. In the rear of the property, there was a bunch of tarps on a separate dwelling unit, and also the carport had collapsed where those two cars are currently at. This is a better view of that. In addition, there's a tree growing about on the roof. There's a tree growing in the rear of the property that is starting to integrate itself with the house itself, starting to damage the exterior and damage the roof. But in general, around the entire property in both buildings, there's damage to the exterior, damage to the roof. This is just a little bit of a better shot of the exterior back in August. Give it a second, seems like the PowerPoint is chugging.
Is that tree growing into the side of the structure? Does it?
It seems like it's getting there.
Will it damage the structure or
Yeah,
the
you'll see
structural
with further
integrity of the
photos,
house?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
This was back in November. These are just taking some exterior photos. You can still see the carport was still collapsed in the rear. And this was back in December. Still the exterior of the building was mostly in the same shape with the carport collapsed. And then you can see some soffit damage on the side there. So I went back yesterday at the property, spoke with some of the tenants there. They explained the property, nothing's been done. The property's still in the exact same shape. As you can see, same damages on the sides. You go to the rear, you can see the trees really starting to grow in that roof now, the damage to the exterior of the building.
Yeah.
That's what the tree looks like. That's how far it's getting into that rear porch of the property. Again, when it's stuck with separating from the wall, there's a bunch of water getting in there, and the tenants were explaining to me that the rear porch floods pretty much every time it rains. The carport seems to be getting worse and worse. More disrepair.
Put the cars out of there anyways. Those are nice old cars.
Yeah, so as you can see, a lot of fascia is starting to fall apart, and the roof is in an unsafe condition at this point. And this is just looking into that secondary carport area. I mean, everything is pretty much swamped and wet, and also caving in back there. And this is just another shot of that wall. So compliance can be met for the exterior surface by repair, any complete repair of the exterior, cleaning of all algae and mildew, and repainting where necessary. Compliance can be met for the roof maintenance by repairing any damage to all roof structures on the premises, and repair of fascia and soffits. We're requesting compliance on or before February 22nd, 2025, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. Any questions?
Board, do you have any questions for Inspector Katzman?
I may after we hear from the owner, but not at this point.
Where the tree is impacting at the ground, is that concrete or is that?
It's probably right next to the foundation. Had they not been removed 25 years ago, it probably wouldn't have been in the state they're in today.
Daniel, I just have one question on the carport.
Yeah.
Of the roof. Is that the whole roof just coming in or just part of
It
it?
seems like it's coming in for parts, but apparently there was somebody living in that rear dwelling unit, but they have since left the property. That's what the tenants had told me.
Okay.
All right.
Is this a rental property?
Yes, there's several, at least 2 families living there right now.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Katzman?
Not at this point.
We'll hear from Mr. Okubier?
The neighbor.
Oh, we'll get from your neighbor after.
Sorry, I know
see what he has to say.
So I know how he feels on that game.
Good afternoon, Mr. Okubier. You denied the violations.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You have denied the violations, but yet we have pictures that show the house is in pretty disrepair as far as things go. Do you have anything that you would like to speak about?
Let me
of that?
interpret.
Yes,
It's because of his hearing,
okay.
but he can speak English. Wọ́n ní lóòótọ́ ẹ deny pé violation yẹn kò yẹ kó wáyé, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ní picture tó sọ fáwọn pé ibẹ̀ yẹn kò dáa, ẹ ní ìdàtí túnbẹ̀ ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n èmi fẹ́ kẹ́ sọ fún ẹ pé ẹ deny pẹ̀lú àlàyé níbẹ̀ lálàyé láti ṣe, torí àwọn hurricane yẹn mi ò jẹ́ kẹ́ tí tẹ̀síwájú.
Mo deny.
So ẹ sọ fún
I'm denying that.
ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ sókè. Kí ni àlàyé tẹ ní fún wọn, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀?
I deny any supposition that I neglected the property or I refused to repair it. I deny all of that. And when I was aware of the damage of the roof, I immediately wanted to repair it. I went to the city and obtained permit. And it was given to me. And immediately at that time, we started doing things in the inside, in the front. Lo and behold, the two hurricanes came down. And whatever damage was there before that looked much worse. And we were unable to work because of the conditions. And then I got a message from the city of how are things going. Are we still working? I said, yes. I said, but we don't have enough time that they gave us. Could we have some more extension? And they gave us that and told us what they needed for us to do. And we have started doing the work.
You've started back working?
We have evidence that we never really stopped except during the interruption for the bad weather and the hurricane.
Do you think that February 22nd is going to be enough time for you to get some of these issues into compliance?
Wọ́n ní ṣe February 22nd, 1 month from now, tó yín láti parí iṣẹ́. Èmi á fẹ́ kẹ́ sọ pé kò tó, wípé architect délé yín, èmi ni architect ṣe fún ní drawing. So ẹ ní ìdìbò oṣù mẹ́fà láti parí iṣẹ́. Torí owó.
Because we can extend that and give you more time if you do need more time.
I am very determined to get the house and property renovated because it's important to me. And I have also hired a builder who is with me here today, and he has drawn plans and taken to the city. And we have, in fact, started working there over a month ago. And we removed all the vehicles that were parked in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were damaged by the hurricanes. So we cut some trees that were hovering over the house in the back. And they were all gone. And we have evidence that we are working on it at the present.
Okay. But you don't think that you'll be able to address all those issues from a month from now, by February 22nd?
wọ́n ní ṣé oṣù kan tó yín ẹ sọ fún pé oṣù kan tó yín pé máa ní ti oṣù 4 sí 6 láti parí iṣẹ́.
A month, Your Honor, may not be sufficient.
Okay.
I think because of situations and everything, I would ask for more, like 3 months or even 4. But I'm determined because I want to keep the property
Okay.
and I can afford it.
Okay.
It is not neglect or disobedience of law. Your Honor, I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon and a professor, and I've lived in this great country since 1961, and I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a retired veteran, and I am a good man.
I'm sure you are, sir.
Respect our rules and regulations.
We just want
I
to make
have
sure.
no criminal offense of any type.
We just want to make sure that, we want you to get your house renovated.
So I am here to obey your orders, but I plead with you to give me sufficient time to carry it out.
We want you to get your house back renovated and get it fixed back up for sure. Board, do you have any questions for?
Yes.
I have one question for the gentleman with him, Mr. Chairman. I can't really tell from here, on your demolition plan, what is that demolition?
All the roof, especially those on the carport, are going to be removed completely.
Okay, so it's for the roofs. I can't tell from here, it's a little too
Yeah,
far away.
roof
Okay,
going,
okay,
brand new roof.
okay.
Then inside is going to be refurbished, renovated, and make it new for an occupant to move in.
Okay.
Take care of that tree too,
Yes, even the tree.
before it pushes the house over.
Yeah,
We are pulling permit. The drawings, if you look at the date of the engineer, it was signed this morning. We pushed him, you know, before he gave us the drawing today, just this morning.
Sounds like an engineer.
And does he have the tree on the plan for removal?
There's no tree on the plan for removal, but the major tree there is a tree that is hanging beside the carport, which is not even useful.
yeah.
So we know we are not only going to attach the building to the tree, which is right now, but we are going to make the new roof independent with its own column. It will not be attached to that tree anymore.
Oh.
So the tree is going to be removed. Yeah.
Thank you.
And may I add that the tree itself has been cut.
Yeah.
It's only the stem that remains,
Okay.
which is sitting innocently and not in danger of anyone.
Okay. All righty, sir. If you'll have a seat, we'll get right back to you. I want to hear from this other gentleman real
Do
quick.
you want to see the second plan?
Sure, you can put it up for a second. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, roof framing, anchoring. Yeah, those are basically all of the roof framing plan and the way it all ties together per code. Typical engineered or architectural drawings is what I'm seeing.
All
for the
right.
record.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good. All right. Thank you. We will hear from the gentleman in the back, and then we'll hear from our inspector again, and then we'll.
I have
You
one quick question.
You got one more question, Mr. Combs? Go ahead.
In his testimony, did he say you already applied for a permit or you're going to apply for a permit?
we are going to apply for permits. We actually attempted it last night because we want it to be on record that we have applied, but what delayed us on the online internet, they said we have to add license and the engineer of record. We couldn't get him last night. We just got him this morning. So I believe he's in the process of doing that.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and I'll have you back up in just a minute.
Thank you
Is
so
that
much.
all the questions you had, Board?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Uberger.
He wants to say something.
I need to give you a little story. Give me your patience. I came from a village in West Africa on the hills, and I went to a mud hut, one-room school with no water, no electricity, nothing. And I came from the really poor people, and I've been grateful to God that I was able to get out of all that and be able to study. I learned the English language because it was my first language. We were under the British colony at the time. Therefore, I was a British subject, and we had to speak English. So it is our first language. And as you can see, I speak the language perfectly. I was able to go to university in England and to study medicine, and got along very well. And then later on came to the United States to do my specialist training. I was very happy with my reception here. I was invited because they were short of doctors. And I was treated royally. What I really want to say is that you won't believe it, but I'm 94 years old.
You look great.
Yeah.
And God gave me the gift of remembering almost everything.
Wow, that's awesome.
I can remember the names of my classmates when I was 5 years old.
Wow, wow.
Now, I talk to my colleagues in England that went to medical school with me. Out of 80 in the class, there were only 5 of us from Africa.
Wow.
They could not remember anything that I remember. And one said to me, "Hey, Julius, what's with you? How can you remember these little things?" I said, "It's a gift from God." I said, "I am not responsible for that." So I simply want to tell you that. And most recently, about 6 months ago, I woke up one morning and I switched the TV on, and I couldn't see a thing. I live alone. My children are all grown up. And I wondered what was going on. I said, "Doctor, I knew about all these things." I said, "Why can't you see?" Of course, I panicked. And a friend took me to the hospital and to the doctors and to the ophthalmologist. And they found out that from my old age, I have developed 3 eye conditions that needed treatment quickly. I had terrible cataracts, I have glaucoma, and another one, macular degeneration. So from then up till now, I'm undergoing treatment. And that is another hindrance to my getting things going quickly. I hope that you can understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave, could I see your plan set close up?
And that is all my story.
We wish a
No,
quick recovery
could
for
I-
you,
Picture.
Yeah.
sir.
Watch your step here. Thank you. I'll give them back to you before.
No, this is your copy.
No, we'll give
You
them.
can have it.
Okay, if you'll have a seat over there for a minute.
Whenever Mr. Plum is done with the drawings, if I can peruse them, I appreciate it.
Sir, would you come forward?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, board. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
My name is Rhett Pennington. I'm a Floridian. I've been here all my life. I'm a real estate broker investor, and I renovate houses for a living. And I bought the house next door to this house at 407 Princess. I paid $350,000 for this house, and I just dumped $50,000 in it to renovate it, upgrade it, new roof, new air conditioner, new landscaping. I've met with Chief. He goes by Chief. Okay, I met him 2 times, and I brought to his attention the large tree that's growing into the back of the house, and I asked him if he was going to take care of it, and he just said, well, maybe I will. That tree is rotten. It's on the brink of falling over on my fence onto my new $20,000 roof. I've addressed it with him, and what he does is he goes and hires the tenant, Jim, that pays them $800 a month, and there's another family in there with 3 children, and he went out there with a chainsaw and trimmed off some of the bushes. There's another tree that's about 3 or 4 foot in diameter in the very back where you saw the garage that's completely fallen down. That's not hurricane damage, that's rock. It completely collapsed. It's 3 inches from my fence. I can't replace my fence until he tears that down. It completely collapsed. He did move a car out, and then he gets Jim to get out there with an electric chainsaw, climbs up on the roof, and trims some of the bushes off. That tree is 3 foot on my property, and I've asked him if we could take care of that tree so that I could straighten my fence out. And he got really belligerent with me, and he says, number one, you're not going to tell me how to manage my house. I'm a property manager professionally. I have a license to do it. He says, you're not going to tell me what to do. And he says, I got 6 months to fix anything that I want to. I've talked to the tenants, and they invited my wife and I into the house. I've seen the inside of the house, and it is slumlord conditions. It is appalling. Now, I buy houses in bad shape, and I renovate them. I'll dump $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 in a house. But my personal opinion, that house is not rehabable. It's shot. It's eaten up with termites. It's a slum house. And I don't want to judge the man. That's a really cute story. But Chief is a slumlord. He has other properties in Clearwater, one on Myrtle, and they just condemned it because it's a tear down. It's dangerous. It's unhealthy. When this house when you turn the sink on in this house that he owns, that he's renting for $800 a month to a family of 5 or 6 or 7 people, the water goes right straight through the bottom of the floor onto the ground. It's gross. I know slumlords. I won't be one. But Chief is a slumlord. This man sits here with millions of dollars in the bank. I don't know how much he owes, and I don't really care, but he won't fix anything. And it's appalling. The neighbors are sick of it. I've been there for 6 months, and I've tried to make friends, and I've talked to him 3 times. He calls me a white devil. And I've asked him to fix it. He goes down and hires the homeless people to come by and do work. And nothing gets fixed. He hasn't done nothing in 5 months since I've been there. It's a joke. So the story that he tells you today is not true. He's not trying to fix the house up. He's not trying to do anything. And it is a health issue. It's a hazard to the community. It's a blight to my home and my investment, along with all the other $500,000 homes that sit on this street. And I'm upset because Chief is a doctor, And he took an oath to take care of people, but he makes his tenants live in squalor. I don't understand that. I just don't. I would never do that. So anyway, my complaint for my whole neighborhood is against Chief in the way he manages his property. And I hope Clearwater will find a reason to make him demolition this house. It's not savable. If it was, he should have somebody to renovate it. Our concern is he's going to continue to do the same thing, go down the street and hire homeless people to come over and fix his house up, because that's what he's done. So that's my story. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Board, do you have any questions?
Not at this point. Thank you.
One more thing. If this board gives this man 3 more months, he ain't gonna do squat. And I don't understand why. The man's got all the money in the world. He lives right down the street in the same conditions. He's got a house on Myrtle, and I can't remember what the crossword, same condition that sits vacant. He drug his rotten cars that are just rotten, he drug his cars over to the other slum house right there on the edge of Myrtle. So when you drive down Myrtle, you see all these old cars right there in the back of the house. It's a blight. And I hope that Clearwater community cleans this thing up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your
hearing
testimony,
me.
Ms. Pender. Thank you.
Can I offer a comment?
It was good to see you, Chief.
What's
Can I
the
offer-
date we're currently, as of February 22nd?
22nd. Yeah.
I got a suggestion.
Can I offer a comment?
Yeah, board.
As far as, I mean, we're here to consider a specific case, and as far as other properties are concerned, I would assume that that would be, typically be addressed by code enforcement as separate cases.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, for the record.
I have a suggestion on, I have a quick question for him. Have you inspected inside the house?
That's not my purview. I haven't been
Just
invited in.
exterior.
Code enforcement deals specifically with the outside. Housing would go inside if there was any issues. They have to deal with Florida law with landlords or any obligations.
Right. I have a suggestion. Instead of issuing extension of time, we stay with this current situation, but he removes the carport and the tree, and then we reevaluate the situation once he's done that much.
Well, I'd like to piggyback on that before we make any motions, if I may. I know that he said they just got the engineering plans, which in my world are, I mean, that's a good sign. That is progress from my point of view. Second thing is, I know that based on my experience, those have to be submitted for permit. And frankly, based on the fact that it's structural work, and I know that there's nobody here from the building department to talk to, but again, based on my experience, I know that they're gonna have, there's a period of time for that to go through. And it's very common in the permit process that when drawings are submitted, quite often the city may return those with additional questions for the architect that have to be addressed by the architect, then resubmitted before they actually get a permit. So again, I'm not here to inject myself into this, but I'm trying to share my experience in what is entailed in the permit process. And I, frankly, if all of that occurs in the next 30 days, I would be very surprised, just knowing what that takes. And also how busy the city is with storm permits.
I was gonna say, they're probably.
And so,
very busy.
So
you know,
Can I interject something there?
Certainly.
That's the reason I'm saying, if we keep with the same time frame, at least we see the goodwill that if he takes the roof down, takes the tree down, by that time we'll know if he's had time for a permit that's been applied for.
Well, he'll have to pull permits for demolition.
Shouldn't we?
Well, and
revisit
and the
this?
tree.
not only that,
So,
but there would
you know.
be, if the tree's gonna come down, and again, I'm not here to speak for the city, but typically when you're pulling a tree permit, anything with more than 10 feet of clear trunk space has to have a permit. So they would have to submit, there would be the time involved for submitting for the permit for that tree, which I don't think really has been considered up to this point. So my thinking is that if we extend it with an update for next month to see that progress is indeed happening, so that we see that continue to occur, then the gentleman gets the time and we're able to find out, are they pursuing this, are they taking care of it?
What's our benchmark going to be for progress by the next meeting?
Well,
Just
we
an
need to
update.
revisit this case
Yeah.
after he gets the permits. We can't decide anything until that's done.
Because even if,
So the property owner needs to excuse himself for just a couple moments, if you don't mind taking a recess, so that he can come back and
Sure.
hear
All right. We will recess this board until Mr. Okubier gets back.
Madam Clerk,
Oh.
would it be appropriate, maybe we can just proceed to the next case? Can we ask the council, is that?
Yeah, we can probably
No.
knock this
We
one
can,
out.
yeah, we can do that. Well, I will suspend this case until Mr. Okubier comes back, and then we will revisit this in a few minutes. But until then, we're going to go ahead and go along with our agenda to move our meeting along. Okay? All right, our next, Mr. Cashman, if you want to have a seat, you can. Our next item is old business items, and can I have a motion to accept the affidavits of compliance for case 5.1.1 through 5.1.10?
I move to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. Next case, 5.2 has been withdrawn. 5.3 is continued until February 26th. 5.4 is also continued to February 26th. So we will move on to other board action, which is 6.1 on our agenda, case 13-24. Consider request by petitioner DHDD LLC at 131 Devon Drive to reduce the fine for RE exterior surface and improve, issue an order that specifies a fine that includes administration costs and establishes the date payable, or the lien will revert to its original amount. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Yes. Sir, will you step forward and state your name and address for the record, please, and your association with the property?
Frank Gower, the property address is 131 Devon Drive, Clearwater Beach. Yeah, I own the property, and then, let's see, I wrote down what I wanted to say. So I want to ask that my fees be reduced to 0. I was trying to get into compliance quickly and rush the process of choosing a contractor. The contractor stole $15,000 from me. They were actually 2 contractors that stole money from me. Central complaint from the city was that I needed to replace the siding, so I spent $7,000 or $8,000, and we replaced one side of the house, but that didn't satisfy the city, so I went back to the contractor asking if he could do the other 2 sides of the house, and he didn't answer the phone for weeks. I was sure that he had stolen the money, and then he was actually about to finally get started, and then the hurricane hit, and there was 3 feet of water in the house. And so in order to come into compliance with the city, I paid $25,000 to have the house demolished. Meanwhile, during this time, I was poisoned by pharmaceuticals on 2 separate occasions. I was bedridden for 6 months. All of my tendons were damaged, and I couldn't walk properly for a year and a half, even now still not recovered. There is another pharmaceutical that caused me to lose a lot of my cognitive ability, and I was deeply psychologically hurt for another 2 years. I've suffered enough, and I've been punished enough, and I ask that you waive all fees. Thank you.
Are you selling the property? It's demolished, right? There's nothing.
Yeah, it's demolished. So, I mean, I still am paying the mortgage. And I'd like to sell it. But I don't think that selling it would cover the full mortgage at this point. So I'm kind of stuck.
Okay.
Question?
What are the?
Sorry?
I was gonna ask what the fees were currently, the actual cost.
I think it's on here, it's
Was it
on
on there?
36,000?
This current lien amount, is that correct?
Yes.
36,000?
Right, but that's not our cost.
$36,300.
Oh, what are our administrative costs on this?
Is $1,248.20.
I'm sorry, 1,000?
$1,248.20.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. You said you had a mortgage on the property?
Yeah,
You do? All right. Did you have flood insurance?
no,
Really?
no, it was a private mortgage. Not
Okay, that would answer that.
I wish.
Or do you have any thoughts or suggestions on this?
I suggest we just go with the administrative fees because it's hardship already. Yeah, the work's been
Is that
done.
what you want to,
Yeah,
are you guys in agreement with
I
that?
concur.
With the administrative fees?
as low as we can go, yeah.
Yeah.
1248.20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to enter an order reducing the amount of the lien to administrative costs of $1,248.20 payable within 30 days, or the lien will revert to its original amount.
All in favor?
Before we, I'm sorry, before we rule, can I ask, may we ask what his financial circumstances are and if 30 days is a workable arrangement?
You can ask.
Yeah.
Well, you can make a motion to that.
If the board assesses the administrative costs of $1,248, which is reduces the fee to the $1,248.20, which is the city's administrative fees, is 30 days enough time for you to get that paid?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
You sure? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Please take our gentleman's back.
Okay, now I am going to go back and retake up case number 01-25, Alcubierre Julius A. Revocable Trust at 403 Princess Street. They have returned,
Casman's left.
and Mr. Casman left. So do you have, you want to speak again?
She's going to get him.
I
Mr. Casman is
believe a
not,
gentleman came here and spoke about me. Now, I have met him maybe 3 or 4 times. One day I went to the house where work was being carried out, this place. And as I went there, somebody drove me there. A gentleman came out from the next house and introduced himself. I believe it is the man that was talking earlier. And he was friendly and everything. And says, "Hey, how are you?" He says, "I know about you." He says, "You own this property?" I said, "Yes." He says, "I have been to your home, to your house, my own private, twice, looking for you." I said, "Why?" He said, "I'm interested in buying the house next to me." He says, "I am a real estate agent and I deal with properties. I buy and sell." And he said, "I've been to your home twice, but you were never there." So I told him, "No, the house is not for sale, that we are in the process of renovating and doing all this." So I wonder whether there is an ulterior motive. I told him that I have children. I have children who may be able to use that place someday, and that really I was not in need of money right now. And he kept pleading that, "Well, why don't you just sell it to me? That's what I'm doing." So you need to know that he came to my property without my permission twice. Told me he knows all about me. When I said, "How do you know about me?" He says, "Oh, I know. I've been to your home twice." I said, "Why?" He said, "I want to buy this property. That's my job. I buy properties." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry. I need to keep it for my family, because when I die, they will need a place, and I'd rather give it to them than sell it. He, with some hesitation, stopped pleading with me. And from then on, he showed hostility towards the people that were living in the front house. And I was told to be careful. And so you need to know the facts.
That's what we deal with, is only facts. The other stuff
That's all I
like
need
that you're
to say.
talking about and what he says is we'll listen
That
to
is
it.
the
but-
truth, and I have evidence.
But we just deal with the facts on each case. The other stuff washes off our back like water off a duck's back.
Hearsay.
Doesn't, it's all
Thank you.
hearsay. So-
I would not be pointing fingers at people.
All right.
I'm a gentleman.
Remember,
and I
when you
will
point your
remain so.
finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you.
4.
Yeah, 4. One's a time. Yeah. But yeah,
Thank you, Your Honor.
so,
Thank you.
okay, board, we need to discuss what we want to do here. Do we,
I like the 22nd and
I mean,
progress.
yeah, we
have to
can.
have progress.
We can do that, have them come back
It has to
like
be
a month from
progress.
now and see if there is progress done. But they, like Mr. Kenny said, the permitting process may take longer than a month, and they may not be able to do anything a month from now.
But even if,
At least we'll see that the permits have been applied for. I mean, if that's satisfactory.
what I
Well, one of
can
the,
say is,
So we have to give a list
even
of
if we give them 3 months now extension to get all this done, and there's not enough time to get permanent and then get the work done. That's a major job.
Oh, yeah,
So
agreed.
I think we need to see some goodwill taken by them.
Okay.
Can't we just make a motion to revisit this, in this case, to revisit?
Well, I think, I would agree, but I think there's another piece in there too, that it would be, if we're able to ask somebody from the city to be here next
Yeah.
meeting to inform us, give us their information in terms of what's occurred with the permit application, what the status is, whether it's in review, when it was submitted, those types of things, then we're getting a little more data from another source in terms of what's actually occurring.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Directly from the building department.
Either Dan-
Right now, what, we just don't know.
Do we just want to put it on ice for
Yeah.
till next month? Is that a viable
I'm
option?
making a motion that we
Yeah.
extend it to next month.
Till
To
next month?
22nd, next month.
And they can,
Okay, we need
You
more.
want to explain to him, you have to have something to prove.
Yeah, yeah.
If we're just extending it with no,
Yeah.
he has to understand he has to start doing something
Yeah.
with that.
Get it at least submitted for permit. I know, again, from experience, they can't lift a finger to do anything until they have a permit, or they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So they've got to have that, so. the
That's
area
with
that-
everything,
That
pretty
we'd be
much.
looking for.
Yeah, that we-
For progress, would be submitting for the permit
Start doing demo.
and some data from the city as far as, it was submitted, this is when it was submitted, and this is what's.
We have the inspector who'd like to give it way out.
Mr. Cashman?
Just make a suggestion, and just not my place to tell you guys what to approve and not to approve. When it comes to many cases before in which you guys have approved a monthly compliance date, on my own, if people show progress, I can choose when to file an affidavit of noncompliance. It doesn't have to be filed immediately the day after. If somebody's pulled permits, if somebody has made progress, even in the case of the gentleman who, had this lien reduction, gave him additional time after his affidavit, after you guys gave him a deadline to file the affidavit of noncompliance once all other avenues were closed, no progress was being made. And in this case as well, I have the ease of being able to monitor when a permit is pulled or at least even applied for. And someone does have the ability to communicate with me throughout the entire process, and without having to put the burden on the board of having to do status updates upon status updates. Rather, the proof is in the pudding. The permit gets pulled in the meantime, or at least attempts to be pulled, I can hold off from filing an affidavit of noncompliance at any time. Rather than have to keep bringing the matter before the board over and over until, like I said, previous cases where the owner just stopped making any progress whatsoever and it was time to file.
Could you bring back up your recommendation, how it's worded?
The current recommendation is for February 22nd, but in that time frame, anybody can apply for a permit and it can receive status as long as documents are uploaded. It does take time to review, it's true. It does take time for a permit to be fully approved and be active. But even with an active permit, if somebody isn't making any action on it for months and months, even that, in my mind, is non-compliance. There are certain properties that'll open a permit and they'll just keep it active and just keep reactivating it every 6 months. One of my previous properties I brought forth to you guys, 51 Verbena, has been doing that for over 3 years with no actual action on the property. So I can be your eyes on the ground rather than you having to keep bringing it back and bring it back for status updates.
Keep it as is.
Yeah, so I think if we
Keep it
go
as is.
till next month, then we want them to be communicating with Mr. Casby.
Right, but we're gonna keep it this as is.
But the fact is, if they hired a roofer, he could have a permit by tomorrow.
Yes.
I've seen this happen many times.
But there's more than the roof there,
I
there's the roof
understand,
structure.
but that would be progress. That would be an action. They don't have to
There's
wait
action.
3 months to have the roof put on.
Right.
As an example.
It's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys do whatever you think is appropriate.
So what would we?
I'm gonna make the first motion, so we have to get that out of the way. We haven't done that
Okay,
yet.
hold on, this gentleman, right, let Mr. Casman, the gentleman back there wants to say one more thing. Sir, if you have something to say as far as relevance to what our decision, or if it's just more mudslinging back and forth, we don't have time for that?
No, I don't want to sling mud, but I just
Okay.
want the truth to come out. I have a concern about the big tree in the back that has branches hanging over onto my side.
You're allowed to cut anything that's over your property line. Put a
I don't
plumb
want-
down.
well, I don't
Put a
want
plumb
to.
line down, and anything that's hanging over, chop it off.
Yeah, well.
That's
if
your
the
right.
tree- If the tree comes out of the ground, it's gonna come over on my fence and hit part of my house, and I'm really concerned about
You
it.
might want to put a board that the part that's the branch that are hanging over your side.
It's
you
this
might
big
wanna
around.
Put a board
No,
up there
no,
to keep it from falling over on you.
It's more than that. It's
can't
a safety factor for
We
my
can ask
family.
a
It's a big tree. So my question is, do we have to wait 3 months before the Clearwater board makes them address that tree? Because it is a hazard in my home.
Well, I have a
You
question
would have to
about
go
that.
to,
You have to
Is
go
that-
through.
that wouldn't be
is that
us.
not-
That's not one of the violations.
Is that not something that code compliance can address, is the tree as an individual thing, if they're aware of it?
I can-
Is that not something that can be addressed?
Ms. Mulder?
Rebecca Mulder, Code Manager. Hazardous tree cases are actually handled by a different division within Planning and
Forestry.
Development. So we have arborists on staff that do our hazardous tree inspections and enforcements. So if someone has a concern with a hazardous tree, they submit that complaint to them, and they go out as certified experts to inspect the tree and evaluate its hazardous condition, and they work with that person specifically. So code doesn't do hazardous trees. The tree itself is just a component of the exterior surface issue that may be exacerbating it, and that's why it was presented in the case today.
Correct.
Is that an
There you go.
appropriate, is that an appropriate avenue for him to pursue, or?
Any citizen that has a concern about a violation that the city has an ordinance on, they can submit a complaint to one of the divisions within planning, and we will investigate that to validate whether that violation exists or does not. They have that right.
Thank you.
Rebecca,
There you go.
Can you rephrase that for me? Under planning and development, you contact arborists?
They're land resource inspectors, so they handle the,
I mean, who do you
I may
ask?
be missing the title a bit,
Oh,
but
okay.
if he has any questions on who to contact, we can get with him after. He can get with Daniel, and he can point him in the direction of the
I was
individuals.
just wanting to know from my own information.
Yeah, land resource development inspectors or something
Okay.
to that
I'll
effect.
find out.
They're not in my division, so I
okay.
apologize, I don't have the specific title,
Is that-
but they
So
do.
trees come under a different division?
A different
I didn't
division
know
of
that.
enforcement,
Hazardous trees.
so that,
Hazardous trees,
so that
yeah.
a specialized individual that can identify the species, invasiveness, and the hazardous condition will evaluate it more effectively than the code inspectors that aren't as familiar
That's
with
good
the
to know.
varieties.
So after this meeting, if you could give them the phone number for that department, that'd be
Thank
helpful.
you. And what he said was true. I did
Yeah.
offer to buy the home. Obviously, you know my reasons why. after his friend Eric told me that he didn't want to sell it to me because he started to harass me, and I think I harassed him a little bit. Let's get it done.
All right.
So that was,
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
thank you so much for hearing me today.
Thank you.
Okay, board, what would we want to suggest to do on this?
I think that the two key points we talked about were, number one, see what progress is going to be made, and number two, make the owner, make sure he understands that should be some progress shown.
But to give Daniel everything he wants, why don't we
Yeah.
give him the tools by going this way?
Fine.
We're basically getting an update from Casman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
Yes.
add something, just to make sure I'm clarifying, so that you guys, you have the ability to push it if you would like, or if you want to stick with a date or pick a different date that he is required to come into compliance by. If you affirm that date, it doesn't come back here for an update to you guys. It would just be handled by staff administratively. Only time you would see it again is if we had to file an affidavit be due to lack of action. So if your intention is to hear an update or to get a status update on this, then you would look to probably be moving it out and rehearing it. Otherwise, you could affirm the date, the February 22nd, or another date of your choosing to come into compliance, and then we would handle that administratively, either by meeting that deadline and bringing back an affidavit shortly after that due to lack of action, or as Mr. Casman mentioned, we would then push it out if we're seeing progress and work with that property owner internally within the department to make, if we're showing good faith.
Okay,
I got it.
okay.
I say we still stick with it.
I got a suggestion now. That we get, for compliance, that I think he's gonna need 6 months to get it done, but it can start today. And then, based on the fact that Casman shows progress by the 22nd, if not, then we just go to the.
So we'll just keep it as it is, and then if something gets filed, then that means there was no progress made, right?
Right.
Pretty much. Okay.
I mean, 30 days is, I would think, is plenty to
Get progress.
At least.
I mean, submit for permit. You've got drawings.
And get a roof.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
we're saying 6 months for completion for everything,
Yeah.
that didn't even
That'll
come
be
back
what
very
Casman
much.
does, follow
Yeah,
through.
he would just keep giving us updates on it. So, okay, well, if everyone's in agreement, we'll go that route then.
Okay. I move to
Okay.
find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before February 22nd, 2025. The respondent does not comply by that date. The board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines, fees, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Mr. Mbokye?
We still have business.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I
You
know.
tell him what's going on.
3 more after that.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna do
now
this.
we are to the point where we are at the election of our officers. Board?
Excuse me. Do we need to take a minute to make sure he understands?
She's
or is-
explaining it
that's
to
what
him right
Rebecca's doing?
She's explaining it to him right now.
All right, just want to be
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Want to be fair.
Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, Mr. Castman's also over there explaining. So, we need to vote and elect a chair and a vice chair for this upcoming year.
All right.
If anyone has any suggestions
You've done
or,
a
I have
fine, you've done a
questions.
fine job.
Are you opposed
Have we
to
done the
continuing?
I'm not opposed to
No,
continuing.
look.
I can run the ship again. It's my honor and pleasure to do, that you guys have faith in me if you would like to go that route. If you don't, that is okay with me. I can slide on down to a new chair and
Shall we interpret that to mean that you're throwing your hat in the ring?
we can throw the hat in the ring, we
All right.
can, so it's whatever you guys want to do.
I think if you and David are interested in staying, I think that.
So if anybody else wants to be vice chair, they can. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I
it's
don't
not a
want
big
to,
deal
I don't
me.
want to,
I like making motions.
I think that you guys have done a good job. and you've been a good example.
Thank you.
Later, I think that those with the most experience, and certainly the youngest looking, you know, are if age were a qualification, I'd throw my hat in the ring, but I'm good.
I am too, and I think the board worked really well today on different discussions.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Bring different
we seem to
perspectives.
have a nice, you know, we can all,
Yeah, we play well.
we eventually get, yeah, we all play well together. And we eventually get to something that, you know, we all agree on and everything.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a nomination that we keep Greg and David in office.
Second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it looks
was
like
easy.
we will stay in
We
these
stay in our
chairs.
seats.
Till next, for another year. Thank you, board, for having the faith and
still
and
friends.
trust in
This
us
is good.
Yeah, you do a
to
good job.
run this ship.
Do you have to swear the rest of us in, or vote on them?
And I believe that
We have three more, don't we?
we will move on to, next items on our agenda are going to be the nuisance abatement lead filings. First up is 7.1 on our agenda. Case number 02-25, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Brian and Linda Brown at 1732 Lucas Drive for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No. Inspector Sudith, you have the floor.
Hi, Vicki Suddeth with the City of Clearwater Code Inspector. This is for case number 02-25 at 1732 Lucas Drive. There's one violation here for overgrowth, unmaintained right-of-way, and trash and debris. The notice of violation was posted and mailed on January 6th of 2025 with a compliance date of January 16th, 2025. Certified mail receipt was not received. It was sent back unclaimed.
Somebody opposes that.
This is a picture of the posting on the front door. This is a picture of the south side of the house where the overgrowth is. This is a picture of the whole front yard. Another picture of the front and north side. These pictures were taken last week to show that nothing was done. And then these were taken yesterday. Nothing still has been done.
Have you,
It was a complaint that came in. I haven't had any contact with anybody. According to the neighbors, the house is vacant. The next case that I have is the same owner. They're right across the street from each other. And like I said, according to the owners, they've both been vacant for several years now.
you haven't ever spoke to the,
I've never even seen anybody there. There is water on at both the houses, but there's no usage on it at all and hasn't been in quite some time.
and your letter came back unclaimed, so you don't even know where they're
And
at.
I
right?
even had a phone number for them. No, they do live in Palm Harbor. There was a phone number on their water account, but all it does is ring and ring and ring. You can't even leave a message.
They've probably seen your ID come up and answer.
All right.
All right, board, any questions for Ms. Sudith?
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
In a second?
Wow.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. 7.2 on our agenda, case number 03-25, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Brian and Linda Brown at 1721 Lucas Drive for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Again, there is no one here to speak for the homeowners. Ms. Sudith, you have the floor.
Vicki Suddeth, Code Inspector, the City of Clearwater. This is for 1721 Lucas Drive, case number 03-25. Again, same owners. There's one violation here for the overgrowth, unmaintained right-of-way, and the trash and debris. This particular house, I'll just tell you really quickly, they did have a lot of damage from the storm. The fence came down, and once the fence came down, there was like it's hard to see from the pictures I took from the street, but there is a lot of debris in the backyard, and all 3 neighbors are up in arms over it. So anyways, the notice of violation was posted and mailed on January 6th with a compliance date of January 16th. Again, the mail came back unclaimed. This is a picture of the front of the house and the posting. This is the side yard. If you look all the way in the back, you can see where several large trees fell, and they're still just sitting there. Another picture. This is the north side of the house. Back in the corner is where all the debris is, and all the fence is still on the ground. These were taken last week. And this was taken yesterday. The fence is still down. You can see more of the debris in the back.
Okay. Any questions, board?
Any communication with homeowner? I would assume not, based on the previous case.
No, nothing for either one of the houses.
But you've attempted, correct?
Yeah, I've tried calling the number, like I said, it just rings and rings. Even the neighbors have said they've tried to reach out to the owners. The one guy to the north of the first house, he has spoken to them in the past, but he says he hasn't even seen them there in over a year.
And this house is vacant as well?
They're both vacant.
Okay.
Nobody's lived in them. The one house, not this one, but the one before, it doesn't even look like it's livable.
Okay.
Are the utilities on?
There is utilities on both of them, but like I said, there hasn't been no usage on it. I did notice on one of the houses, the first one I showed you, it looks like they're getting ready to shut that water off for non-payment.
It's unusual for utilities to be on this long.
I know.
Yeah.
Are the,
Or not, but
Yeah.
are the property taxes being paid?
That I don't know. I think I did look on one of them, and this year's has not been paid yet, and it looked like on one of them, not last year, but the year before, somebody else paid them. Wasn't that the homeowner?
Somebody has
Owner might
plans,
be
yeah.
deceased, maybe.
No, they live in Dunedin.
Oh, do they?
I mean,
You think?
They
that,
have
yeah.
homestead on a house there, so,
Wow.
or Palm Harbor, sorry.
A lot of,
Any more questions, board?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion
Thank you.
carries. This on to 7.3 on our agenda, case number 04-25. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Violene McGill and Damaris Daniel at 608 Nicholas Street for lot clearing, and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No? Inspector Casman, you have the floor.
All right.
Nobody.
Good afternoon again, Board. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 4-25 for 608 Nicholson Street. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-1503 B7, B5A, and B8 for overgrown accumulation nuisances and overgrown right-of-way. These are the dates all the postings were sent out along with notice of violation. This is my notice at the property. Property is at the corner of Nicholson and Blanchby Littlejohn on one of those little small side streets along the trail. If you've ever been in that area, it's for the most part, the owners cut the grass of the lot, but as you see there, there's a bunch of undergrowth in some couches that have been dumped there along with additional debris at the property. I thought who I had been speaking with was the owner, but it turned out they were just a sibling of the owner and actually had no ownership of the property. They told me that they had been paying the taxes on the property for the past few years, but the owners were in a different state and didn't speak with them about it. This is on the Blanchby Littlejohn side. What I've spoken with our arborist and learned that this is an Australian pine. It's a sort of tree that grows roots underground and then sprouts new clones of itself pretty much indefinitely.
Very familiar with those.
The street over there is starting to disappear. I did bring that up to traffic engineering. They might have to address that in the future to repave the area, but at the same time, the property owners allowing their overgrowth to basically take over the city right-of-ways. In the back of the property, there's just piles of brush, debris. The place is a popular spot for vagrant activity, for bedding down for the night. I'm assuming that's why
Nice
these
couch to
couches are
sleep
there.
on.
At the same time, one of the trees in the back, an older tree that looks like it had been choked out by vines, had split during one of the storms and has also fallen over, just become another pile of debris. This is a better look at it. This was yesterday. The couches were still there. There was a bunch of same brush piles. Looks like someone had bedded down for the night and left some products there for personal use. And then just more overgrowth, and again, just another shot of the street. So what I'm asking for this property is the mowing down of all the Australian pine undergrowth and overgrowth, remove all debris, including branches, couches, the split tree, and cut down and back all the Australian pine growing into the roadway. And I'm requesting compliance on or before 5 days from the board renders its order.
Okay. Any questions, board?
No.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations with 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion approved. 7.4.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Tanner.
7.4 and 7.5 on our agenda have been withdrawn. On to 7.6, case 07-25, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents 1200 Edenville Land Trust at 12000 Edenville Avenue for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No. Inspector Maddox, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. Here to speak on case number 0725. My name is Kevin Maddox, Code Compliance Inspector for Clearwater. Address is 1200 Edenville Avenue for a lot clearing abatement. Get this to go. Here we go. Well, from the beginning. Here we go. One violation for lot clearing and unmaintained right-of-way. The courtesy violation was sent out on 12/3. It's not listed here, but I did give them a courtesy letter. Then notice of violation was sent and posted on the 16th of December with a compliance date of the 30th of December last year. The certified mail receipt received was unclaimed. Here you can see it was posted on the 16th with the proper date showing for January 22nd if things were not completed by December 30th, 2024. I'll note that yesterday I received a phone call. I was not able to accept the call. Today I returned the phone call to a Vladimir who identified himself as a trustee for the trust known as 1200 Edenville, which is the owner of the property. The trustee, Vladimir, indicated that he wanted to take care of this right away so that he could sell the property in the next 30 days. Just to let you know that he did receive the information, and he initiated the contact with me since I didn't have his information. As you can see on the 16th, the grass was over a foot tall. I put the measurement down there. Even though the grass looks like it at one time had looked pretty nice and then just grew nice and thick, but grew altogether over a foot high. Continued on the 30th. This was the violation date in the posting. We got to today. I went out this morning and took these pictures and nothing had changed. Compliance can be met by clearing all overgrowth from the property, including mowing the lawn, trimming the bushes, and edging the sidewalks and driveway. Requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, board, do you have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Did you actually speak with him, or did he leave you a voicemail?
We talked on the phone this morning.
Okay, and what's your read on his intentions?
With my discussion with him, it felt like there was a hesitation to get it done right away. He wanted to ask for an extension and like a couple days, and I said, you're welcome to come see the board today. If that was something that they made a decision, that would be up to them. But I said this was going to board. All you have to do is make a phone call, have a guy go in and mow it in the next 5 days, and you'd be in compliance. It did not sound like that was any kind of a financial hardship. It was just more of taking things over as a trustee to get things done so he could sell it.
And when did this case originate? What was the origination date?
The
of this case?
original letter was sent on December 3rd, courtesy letter,
Okay.
2024. I told him that it had been 2 months since contact was attempted, and it was a pleasant conversation. It's just something that he's very well aware of, he needs to take care of.
So it's been about 6 weeks or more since the courtesy letter was sent?
Yes.
Informing them of the condition and what needed to be done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, board?
Nope.
No?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply with the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion approved. All right, if there is nothing more for this board, we will adjourn. See you next month.